Hello, Sprouts. Welcome back to Clover Reads. I'm Crimson Clover, and today we have 3 stories from the Am I the A-Hole Here subreddit. The first is by Reddit user Some Edition 9752, titled, Am I the A-Hole Here for letting my kids loot my brother's house to prove my point? Depends on what they took. My brother and his family came for a visit last month. My kids and I play with Lego, and we have fun leaving little dioramas around the house. Just some silly stuff like a fight between Iron Man and Darth Vader on the loot llama. It's just a way to leave Easter eggs around the house. That sounds like an adorable tradition. My nephew really liked them and decided to take a few. When we noticed they were missing, I asked my nephew to bring them back. He said that it was just kids being kids and he would bring them the next time we saw each other. I saw him for coffee and I reminded him beforehand that I wanted all of our stuff back. He forgot to bring the toys. Okay, game on. Why is toys in quotes? I mean, technically Legos are toys. Also, keepsakes and collector's items, but most toys can be keepsakes and collector's items. We went over to his place for a barbecue. I told my kids that unless all of our stuff was returned to us when we got there, literally anything in the house was fair game. Like the godless barbarians they are, they went to town. When I left, I don't think there were any remotes, small electronics, or beer mugs left in the house. I actually had to sneak the dog back into the house before I left. I would have taken the dog. I started getting calls on my way home. I ignored them. When I got home, I returned his calls. He said a bunch of stuff was missing from his house. I said I would check with the kids. He said that I effing well knew that what had happened and that he wanted his stuff back. I said I'd go box it up and return it the next time we saw each other, as long as we got our Lego back. He was at my house with my Lego later that evening. He had even accidentally included stuff that wasn't ours. Okay, does that mean he also did Lego? I returned it and his stuff. I told him that this is how we would be dealing with his kids in the future. He is upset that he had to make a special trip to return my stuff. It didn't have to be a special trip. He could have waited and legitimately just returned it the next time he saw you. My parents think that there's a huge difference between an 18-year-old taking Lego minifigures and a couple of teenagers playing their uncle's house. Am I the a-hole here? Well, personally, I don't think so. The kid was old enough to know not to take things that don't belong to them. And the dad is well above old enough to know that if your kid takes something that doesn't belong to them, you give it back and you apologize. Then you make the child apologize. Don't just let the kid get away with stuff like that. It's a big no-no. So tell me what you would have done in such a situation. I mean, also, was he upset that he lost the electronics and the remote? Or was he upset that he lost the beer mugs to the kids? Now, our next Reddit story is from user 2047392. I would not have thought to put just the name user and then a bunch of string letters. I totally would think that's a spam account. Now, before we go on to the second story, there is mention of the loss of a child. So if you need to skip it, I understand. I probably won't remember to timestamp things, but it doesn't usually take me too long to read through. Probably just a couple minutes. It's titled, Am I the a-hole for going off on my sister-in-law that her early-term miscarriage is not the same as me losing my baby? Going off on, so you yelled at her. Let's read on. I, 23 female, recently lost my 5-week-old child in a car accident. I'm really sorry for your loss, OP. I am beyond devastated, obviously, and I'm trying to come to terms with it. I haven't really seen anyone since her memorial, but my sister-in-law, 34 female, has come to stay with us for a few days while she's in town. Every time she sees me crying, she tells me that she knows how I feel because last year she had a miscarriage at 7 weeks, where she didn't even know that she was pregnant. My husband and I have both tried to either brush it off or tell her it's not exactly the same. Now, that's true. Losing a child that you've carried to term and you've had for 5 weeks and have been taken care of, I think would be significantly more emotional impacting than losing a pregnancy you didn't even know you had. Now, I've never been pregnant. Probably not ever going to be pregnant. but at the very least, I know the sister-in-law is trying to like empathize, but like just hug OP and let her cry. Just hug OP and let her cry. Yesterday was a bad day, and I spent the whole day just kind of in mourning. We still have our bassinet in our room, and it just really hit me. My sister-in-law came in to ask me a question and caught me crying, and she once again said, "Oh honey, I know exactly how you feel. I was inconsolable when I had my miscarriage." I just lost my shit. I told her she didn't know anything about how I feel, how she lost some cells she didn't even know existed, but I'm mourning my baby that I loved and built a life for. My breasts ache with the baby milk my baby will never drink again. I am in physical pain, still recovering from birthing a baby I will never hold again. My C-section is still hurting. My sister-in-law started crying and told me I was invalidating her pain to make myself feel better, and I told her to shut up and to get out of my room. My husband's on my side, but my in-laws told me I was lashing out because of my own pain, and I can't tell anyone they don't know how I feel, because I don't know how they feel, and now I feel awful and would like judgment. Am I the a-hole here? Again, I personally don't think that OP's the a-hole, because they are still mourning. It's only been 5 weeks, so they don't only have just the small squish they were going to raise, they're mourning the entire future of the little squish. And again, the sister-in-law, I think, is probably just trying to empathize. I mean, she probably was upset that, that she miscarried. And even if she hadn't known she was pregnant, afterwards she's like, I would have loved the baby. But they're mourning different things. And nobody's pain is ever exactly the same as everyone else. Even if you suffer a very similar loss, your pain is still your own pain. The sister-in-law, back off a little bit. Let OP have the time to mourn. Offer hugs. Give her more than just a few days to be mournful. And now we will move on to our third story. Also, if you have a story you'd like to share, let me know in the comments down below. Even if you just want to share it, feel free to tell me if you don't want me to read it, like out loud. Objective Throat 995 is our next OP. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to share my lottery winnings with my siblings and not my family is furious with me? No. Never. Personal opinion, if you win money, never share it. Okay, I won't say never share it, because maybe you have enough that you feel comfortable sharing, but don't tell people that you've suddenly come into a lot of money, because they will come out of the woodwork and they will ask for things, and then they will guilt-trip the ever-loving hell out of you for it. So I, 34 female, won the lottery a few months back. It was honestly the most shocking thing that's ever happened to me. One minute I'm picking up milk and bread at a store, and on a whim I just thought, why not? And I got a lottery ticket. I didn't expect anything to come from it. I don't even play regularly. But somehow I hit a decent jackpot. Not like hundreds of millions, but enough to really make a difference, Anyway, I was ecstatic. First thing I did was call my mom. First mistake, do not call the relatives, do not tell anybody. Tell your tax expert. I was excited at first, but then a minute later she starts saying, so are you going to share it with the family? Before I'd even processed the news myself. Some context here, I've got 2 siblings. My brother and sister have always been kind of, how do I put it? Distant? When I had my son, he's autistic and needs a lot of support. It was pretty much just me on my own. They didn't offer help, didn't check in much, and it hurt, honestly. I love them, but I had to go through so much alone. My mom too, she was supportive in her own way, but she was never really there in the ways that I needed her. So I was really surprised when she asked about sharing the winnings right away. And to be real, my gut reaction was kind of, no. Where was this family takes care of family idea when I was struggling? I told her I wasn't planning on sharing the money, that I wanted to use it to secure my son's future, pay off debts, excellent use of the money, and just finally breathe a little. But after I said it, she got really quiet and goes, well, that's really disappointing. That hit hard. Since then, My siblings have been calling me selfish and saying that I've let money go to my head. And even my mom has hinted that I'm being greedy. She actually told me that my son needs a strong father figure around him. No, a strong family around them. Sorry, why did I think father figure? And then I'm ruining that with my attitude. I feel awful now, second-guessing myself. Like, maybe I'm being too harsh? But I also can't ignore that they weren't there when I needed them. And it's not like I'm blowing the money. I'm planning on setting it up for my son so that my son is cared for. Because he might always need extra help, and honestly, it's always just been us. So, am I the a-hole here for wanting to keep the winnings for me and my son's future instead of handing it out to a family who never really helped us? Again, no. I 100% do not think the OP in this story is an asshole. Ah, I said the word. And I think I'll keep an eye on this one to see if there's an update later. But no, money frequently just brings out the worst in people. Like when my parents died, I don't know why my aunt was there, but she was there. She had a key to the house. She got in, and she started taking all of my mom's valuables before they even called me to tell me anything was wrong that my parents had passed. And like, that was several $1,000s worth of stuff. And you know, that is small probably to what would be an impactful lottery winning. But putting it into a trust for your kid, excellent use of lottery winnings. And honestly, OP's mom should be like, you know, you want to put it towards your son's future? That's wonderful. You know, make sure your son's cared for. What if something happened to OP and then someone else stepped in and was like, oh, yeah, I'll take your kid and your kid's trust. I'm going to be the executor. I have to pay myself so much stuff. Like, people do that. And OP's family sounds like the greedy ones here. So let me know, have you ever won any money? What did you do with it? Did you have family come out? Like, I've heard plenty of stories where people have won money and then they've blown it on a bunch of stuff. They've not been nice and responsible and paid off debts. Paying off debts, that's a wonderful use of your winnings. But again, don't forget to go to a tax person. Anyway, thank you to all of the OPs for sharing their stories today. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, and I'll catch you next time. Bye-bye!